Why were they both 8-year-old children, but one could live in a luxury villa, another had to live in a Nazi extermination camp?
Why? What have you done? I'm a Jew.
Only a short while ago, our nation suffered such humiliation. This movie, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, described the cruel history from the perspective of children. There is no bloody slaughter that can make our hearts swell like this. The story took place in Germany during World War II. Bruno's father was a commandant. His father Ralph was promoted and relocated the family to the countryside with the army. It was very far from downtown Berlin and a desolate area. The environment there was quiet and beautiful. There were servants in the villa. The family was happy, but Bruno was not. Because this place didn't have friends to play with, he was also frightened by the cold-faced soldiers. Even Bruno didn't dare to talk too loud with his mother.
One of your father's soldiers, I suppose. They look very serious. They are, aren't they?
Bruno was bored, therefore, he looked out of the window. There seemed to be a farm not far from the backyard. It was the only place in this area that had people except his home. Bruno excitedly asked his mother if he could make friends on the farm. His mother was very surprised, she didn't know there was a farm nearby. Just then there was a servant coming to bring vegetables. The mother suddenly looked flustered. She asked Bruno to go upstairs and clean up the room. Bruno didn't care what his mother said to him, but only looked at the servant. He was surprised when he saw the striped pajamas in the servant's trouser.
I told you they were strange.
Who?
Farmers. They wear pajamas.
The mother knew that the farm in her son's story actually meant a concentration camp. The next day, the window in Bruno's room was nailed. The mother wouldn't let him play in the backyard, but Bruno liked adventure. He was in the age of curiosity. His parents didn't allow him to play in the backyard, so he was more curious about the world behind it. Therefore, Bruno was often in daze at the door. Saw his sister and a soldier talking. Bruno didn't have friends to play with, so he thought of some ideas. He asked the soldier if he had abandoned tires to make a swing. The soldier thought it was a good idea, so he agreed.
You! Here, now! Move!
Bruno was shocked. The farmer who was called couldn't stop shaking. Under the order of the soldier, the servant took Bruno to the storage room in the backyard to pick out the tires. But Bruno noticed the open windows. There seemed to be access to the farm. So in the afternoon, when no one noticed, Bruno couldn't hold his curiosity, so he turned the window and slipped out. Along the way, the branches and leaves were flourishing and luxuriant. Bruno danced excitedly. It was like he was a real adventurer, exploring a no-man's land. Finally, he came to the end of the jungle. He saw a boy in the striped pajamas behind the iron mesh.
I'm Bruno. Schmoll.
Bruno noticed the number on Schmoll. Bruno thought Schmoll was playing game with his friends, so he asked curiously. Suddenly a whistle rang and Schmoll couldn't answer. He pushed the wheelbarrow and went in a hurry. Once again, Bruno had to go home and play alone. He went to the basement to look for football, and found sister's favorite dolls piled together in rags. But his sister didn't seem to be sad. Instead, she changed her interest, collecting the posters of Nazi.
Dolls are for little girls. It's not right to play with silly toys while people are away risking their lives for the fatherland.
His father had hired a teacher for them, but the teacher only taught German history. Bruno had no interest in class, so he had never been brainwashed. But his sister unconsciously became crazy with Nazi, self-opinionated. The mother also found the sister's temperament changed greatly, so she argued with the father and asked for a change of teacher. The father said all the kids were learning those things. The mother had no choice but to give up. This day, the mother went to the town for shopping. Bruno felt happy. He finally had chance to play with Schmoll. Bruno found that Schmoll was always hungry. He hoped Bruno brought him some food. However, when Bruno wanted to invite Schmoll to his house, Schmoll said he couldn't leave there.
I can't, can I? Because of this. But that's to stop the animals getting out, isn't it? Animals? No, it's to stop people getting out.
This was the one at the beginning of the video.
Why? What have you done?
Bruno finally understood that this was not a farm. It was the jail for the Jew. Although Bruno didn't pay attention in classes, he remembered what was in books and what the teacher taught. It was said that the Jews were worthy demons. At this time, when he looked at Schmoll, he was a little afraid. He left in a hurry. But the more he thought about it, the more he found something was not right. As an 8-year-old boy like him, how could he be a demon? There wasn't a good Jew, was there? So because of the adventurer's fearless spirit, Bruno decided to find the answer by himself. He wanted to have more contact with Schmoll to see how frightening the Jew were. A few days later, he was still like that. At the moment he met his mother when she came back after shopping, and the chimney near the shallow area gave off a black smoke, a common smell.
They smell even worse when they burn, don't they?
What?
The soldier realized that he had made a slip of the tongue, but it was too late. Bruno's parents had a big fight over it. The mother blamed the father that a soldier should go to war, instead of killing innocent people here. The father said it was part of the war. The mother was stubborn, but she had to swallow her anger. Dad took all the blame on that soldier. At dinner, he asked many questions. After knowing that the soldier's father betrayed the country, he asked for the responsibility of the soldier for concealing. Unfortunately, the one who poured the wine glass was a Jewish servant. The soldier took the servant out and beat him. The mother felt so fidgety, but the father acted like nothing happened, silently watching. Bruno at that moment wanted to stand up. Schmoll usually said that he hated those soldiers. So Bruno had an opinion about his father.
They're no good at anything. They're in there because they're evil. Evil, dangerous vermin.
Everyone around him was telling him the Jews should be beaten. But every time when thinking of the naive face of Shmuel, Bruno couldn't believe what he heard. Bruno had not met Shmuel for days. He didn't think he could meet Shmuel at home. Because Shmuel was sent to clean the cups, Bruno gave him a snack. Unexpectedly, the soldier suddenly appeared and slandered Shmuel for stealing food. Shmuel was so scared and he wished Bruno would clarify it for him. But Bruno only gave him disappointment.
Do you know this Jew?
Do you know this dude?
No, I just walked in and he was helping himself. I've never seen him before in my life.
Because of his fear, Bruno lied. But every day he was immersed in guilt. He often went to Shmuel to apologize, but he couldn't see him. At the same time, the mother was becoming more and more intolerant of the father. Knowing that the grandmom was against NC, the father also put a handwritten letter on grandma's coffin at the funeral. The mother wanted to take it off, but the father still wanted to keep it there. Then, they had a big quarrel. The mother didn't think the kids were suitable for this place. She wanted to bring Bruno and his sister back to the city. Before leaving, Bruno finally saw Shmuel again. He told Bruno with a wounded eye and a low emotion his father disappeared in the camp. To make up for his fault, Bruno decided to take risks.
I really want to make up for letting you down like I did. That would have done it, wouldn't it? Helping you find your dad. It'd been great, like a secret mission.
The next day, Bruno had to return to the city. He took advantage of his family's inattention to fulfill his promise. Shmuel brought him a striped pajama. Through the hole dug under the fence, Bruno successfully mixed into the camp. Suddenly, there was something happened. Everyone was thrown out. It rained heavily. Bruno held Shmuel's hand. They were taken into a room and soldiers asked everyone to take off their clothes. Bruno naively thought that it was just for taking a bath, but he didn't know that his life was coming to the end. Bruno's parents found their son missing. They began to look for Bruno crazily, but it was late. With a handful of powder poured in, Bruno disappeared forever among the Jews. The mother was in despair. She couldn't help but cry with his clothes. The boy in the striped pajamas is the same as Jojo Rabbit. They all showed the cruelty of war from the perspective of children. But Bruno's and Shmuel's stories are more accessible and gripping. From the perspective of God, we knew that Bruno and Shmuel couldn't be friends at the time. But it's still going to be driven by Bruno's emotion. He had a sneak look at a film about life at the concentration camp in his father's room. From this, he naively thought that life in the concentration camp was very good. That was why he was going to find Shmuel. But wearing striped pajamas was a game of death. We hope Bruno will find a way to keep himself safe. Also hope he will not find out the truth and always be kind. It's a pity that he and Shmuel both died. Most people will mourn Bruno's death, but they ignored that Shmuel was also innocent. The batch of Jews who were burnt were so pitiful. The children are a piece of white paper. War, aggression, racism should not be fallen on their shoulders. All are said by Bayman at the beginning of the film. Before the dark hour of reason grows, childhood is measured out by sounds and smiles and sights.